Network.
Good evening, everyone. It's 8:05. I'm sorry we're late. Honest Gov, it was Ben's fault. We'll explain that one later. Sunday, the 17th of January, 2021. Good evening. It's episode 41 of the Pro Synth Network live show. Welcome, one and all. Thanks for hanging around for us. I know, we are a little bit late. It wasn't my fault, honest. And as ever, we are joined by Ben and Cryss, and our special guest this week, Tom from Synth Anatomy. Good evening to you all, gentlemen. How are we? Cheers to you too. So let's start with our guest Tom. We find you in Vienna. It's just gone 9 p.m. where you are. How are things over there in Austria?
Yeah, it's lockdown fever.
Yeah.
Calm. We are at home. We're making music.
Indeed.
We're watching YouTube. Reading.
Yeah, and
reading some good books. Oops.
Oh yes. Oh, there you go. Are you all prepared for Virtual NAMM kicking off tomorrow?
To be honest, no. because it's something I would describe. It's more a hassle this year because you hear something from the left side, or there's something or to the right side. Others are doing nothing. So it's a bit luck if you have some information or not.
Yeah. I've been kind of going through and signing up to all the things that I'm hoping to see something, or there's rumours there might be something, in the hope that something will pop up and interest me. But there we go. We'll I'm sure we'll talk about NAMM next week once it's been and gone in the virtual synth. And of course, NAMM takes place in Anaheim, California. Our local man on the ground in the field is Cryss Synthient. How are you, sir? Well, I'm standing outside. No, I'm not.
We need some wind and rain going on, and
mad COVID screaming going in the background. Yeah. How's things in California?
We're doing all right. It's a heat wave out here, so I know some of you guys have some snow, but we're cooking out here. But things are going well, and super excited to have Tom on the show. And I'm getting exhausted for him because Synth Anatomy is the resource that I continually go to find synth news. So I imagine that this time of year is probably about the busiest for him.
Yeah, indeed. Ben, how are you? Have you had snow up north in England there?
Not here, not personally, but I know they have it in Sheffield.
Yeah,
which isn't
because nobody likes Sheffield.
Yeah. I think it snows there all the time. It's like
it's like Manchester. It snows and rains all the time.
Game of Thrones, isn't it? You know.
I'm just waiting for Andrew to respond. So we had snow here in East Anglia, where literally nobody goes, and we woke up yesterday to about 4 inches of the stuff, and then it's all just gone today. So. Fantastic, lovely. Right, well, we've got a full house. We'll come and we'll speak to Tom in a bit more detail about Synth Anatomy and everything he does over there as well. And of course, we'll be getting his and the other guys' opinions on the news topics of the week. Before we do that, let's just go through and remind you that if you haven't already, do join us on the Facebook page. Just search Pro Synth Network on Facebook and then sign up. Just a quick reminder, if you've invited anyone to join, and just in case you are you're watching the video, please do remember to tell them to answer the questions, just to prove that they're human and that they want to be in the group, because we have a few people kind of queuing up there that have been invited but clearly don't know. So do that. Of course, if you want to donate to us, we are incredibly grateful. And there's the link. It's also in the description below us here on YouTube. If you're joining us from Facebook and you're watching us on Facebook Live, welcome. But do make sure that you give StreamYard access to your Facebook profile. It's just so that we can get your name on the screen. Should you make a cutting and witty remark, we'd like to throw that up on the screen and attribute that to you personally. I didn't get a PSM Bingo update this week, so there is one from last week there. I'm sure it's pretty much they stay the same. I know that Robert occasionally updates there, but you can go and have a game of PSM Bingo during the show with us there. And I think that's pretty much all the housekeeping done. Have I forgotten anything?
Also, Robert had a live stream playing synth between Jamie's Geosynth show and ours, and so you can go and find that later after our show.
Yeah, I'm going to have to do that.
At Native VS.
Yeah, I'm going to have to catch up on that because I did a typical old man thing on a Sunday. I fell asleep on the sofa in front of the fire. I only woke up about 20 minutes, half an hour ago. So a little bit sleepy, but never mind. Right, okay, let's crack on with the show. We've got a whole bunch of news topics here, so we'd like to get your thoughts and opinions on those. Let's kick off with this thing. So this has come in for some derision online. I don't know whether it's going to be a great thing or not. But this is Verselab from Roland, the MV1, which is essentially just kind of like a multi-track recorder with an MPC style kind of beat layout and loads of samples and patches built in, but of course a dedicated track for vocals so you can lay down your verses. Nice kind of sequencer in there, lots of effects. Guys, your thoughts. Let's start off with Tom. Does the world need another beat-making machine with a vocal track in there?
To be honest, and I'm very honest in my comments, I was not that impressed with this device. Because one reason. We have an MC707, we have an MC101, we have MPC1. Okay, it has an XLR input and some vocal sounds, but does it bring it further? No. It's again and again the same sausage or sauce that Roland is cooking. It's again the same thing.
Do you think
but they sound good. There's nothing against the Zencore thing. They sound really, really good. But for me, it's nothing innovative in these terms.
It's not really, is it? And I'm just wondering if they've just kind of taken a whole bunch of existing things that they have across their range and then shoved them into a box that's going to appeal to a specific group of people. I mean, I don't think the name Verselab does it any favours, but I mean, it's an interesting thing. Cryss, what do you think of Verselab or the MV1?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely the wrong person as far as the marking of this device, and I kind of agree that seems like there are better devices already on the market that do this same kind of thing. So I mean, I understand it. Robert says that Roland is milking Zencore, and you understand why they would. But yeah, it doesn't really appeal to me. Now, I'm kind of, the conversation that maybe another time we can have is, it's interesting for me to look at it at a psychological level and see how people's personalities move them towards different types of hardware and software, and so how your learning style comes into play. So I would imagine, I have more of a visual learning style, so a DAW works really well for me. Mm-hmm. But some device like this is probably not going to be the greatest for me, but maybe somebody that's more a kinesthetic or audio learner would do much better with one of these devices. So I can understand why there's a market for them, and it'd be kind of an interesting, just something I've been popping around in my head this week as I've been thinking about this device.
Yeah, I mean, you say that the Zen Beats, kind of integration there. It seems like maybe they've built this, with specifically Roland Cloud and those kind of capabilities in mind. And I know a lot of people have been commenting on the demonstration video and how kind of annoying it slightly is. But nevertheless, I guess if say it's got a specific market. I doubt very much that Electromantics would be using anything like this, Ben.
No, I don't think so. But I think we might be missing the point slightly on what it is. I was trying to think when I first seen it. I was of the same opinion. I was like, "What's this?" It's like it's just another MPC kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I thought about it, I tried to think of a scenario, and basically, a young person wants no musical ability or knowledge, but wants to get into rapping or something. I was thinking of Lewis, really, because he's always writing his bars down, and stuff like that. They should have called it Bar Lab, really.
Oh.
And I think, say if a young person came to you and said, like, I want to get into rapping, what equipment would you recommend that I buy? And you say an MPC one, and they say, well, how easy is that to use, and would I be able to record my vocals on it? I just want a box where I can make my own songs. Does that not exist? And I think that's what this is. It's a no musical ability required.
I have one big problem with this device.
Yeah.
The 90 screen.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I like the colours on the pads.
If you see the MPC One or MPC Live, or how this device called, but they have a big screen. It's far easier.
Yeah.
This is a 90s style screen, and it doesn't make, for me, a lot of sense to play with it.
Yeah.
Because you probably watched this video or the introduction video 10 minutes to a song, or how do you call them?
Yeah.
I say to them, if you have prepared every track of it, then you can make it in 10 minutes. A beginner can make a song in 10 minutes with this device, I'm pretty sure.
No, you're right there. I think it's interesting. I guess they've probably done their market research and found that there is a niche for something like this. Whether it's successful or not, who knows?
I think it fits a niche market.
Yeah. It's certainly not an MPC killer at all. I don't think.
I have also impression this device comes from the US and not from because the former Zen cores, I think, comes from the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And this one comes from the US because it's always NAMM show, and they have a bit different idea of designing products. All these mobile interfaces came from the US, and I think this one also.
Yeah,
I'd just like to apologize on behalf of Americans for that fact.
Apology accepted. But also, it's not. I guess we live in this world nowadays where we have. One of the first things that people cry when they see something new and kind of familiar in the marketplace is they cry out clone. And I remember seeing something like this from Pioneer. It looks similar with the collaboration with Dave Smith.
It looks very similar.
However, as Tom pointed out, this has a 21st century screen and not the the tiny little thing.
But a very big but. The tone rise is not supported.
Right.
The AS1, the synth is phenomenal. This one is also great, but they don't support it. It has bugs, and sorry, it's.
Right.
I even asked Dave Smith on the NAMM show, on the last NAMM show. Dave, how can you please update the AS1? Pioneer doesn't make anything on this device, and he said we could make something, but Pioneer doesn't ask us.
Right, and they can't put it out with So
because the AS1 doesn't sync, he stops syncing if you change the presets.
Right.
And what I heard, the Pioneer, the Torrent SP16 has also some bugs.
So I wonder then maybe Roland have seen this and thought, here's our opportunity to come up with something similar. But we'll support it because we're Roland and we can do that sort of thing. Maybe. But it was just, it reminded me of that. And I don't think I was the only one to see that.
Well spotted. I'd forgotten.
I can't take all the credit for that. So there you go. That's the oh god, it's got the Verselab MV1 from Roland. See, it's that memorable, isn't it? I've just forgotten it there straight away. Now, the other thing that is fairly new and that has been teased a little while, somebody brought it to my attention, I think because they thought it might be related to a form of synthesis that I am quite a fan of, is this. So I'll just play this little video and see what you think. This is the new Hammond SkPro with built-in monophonic synthesizer. We'll just pause it there because it's hovering over this new mono synth section, which seems like a kind of fairly simplistic mono synth. You've got 6 different type of oscillators there. You've got the pitch and filter envelope and the amplitude envelope, and then a little bit of LFO and filter controls there, and that's pretty much it. But it's bolted into the SkPro, which is a pretty damn good Hammond organ. So. I don't know. What do you think?
Why does that look so Korg-like? What is it about that?
I don't know. It's nothing to do with Korg because Hammond are owned by Suzuki.
Yeah,
I think.
it just looks like it's been lifted straight off the Op6 or the.
It does. It has a little bit of that about it. Maybe that's why the FM thing was. It does have an FM oscillator in there, but it's not going to be anything too special. So I guess this is kind of a niche product. I mean, let me just bring up the product page here for you. It looks like it's built like an absolute battleship, which most of these Hammond units are. Don't have a price on this yet, unless Tom has been looking around. But there you go. That's the SkPro. Available at the end of first quarter, so looking at the end of March 2021, 61 and 73 key versions with a classic waterfall keyboard. But it looks like if Hammond organs are your thing and you want a really good hardware Hammond organ with a built-in digital Leslie, this seems to be the sort of thing. Cryss, are you a fan of the Hammond sound? Can you? I mean, I know that I think you've got the IK Multimedia plugin, haven't you?
I don't have their organ one yet, but I love organ. Was most familiar with it from old blues music, and I have been a huge fan of the Leslie sound for a long time, both on guitar and organ or any sort of keys, but. The Leslie sound is a really big one. This seems really like a keyboard that's for the live organ player, where it gives you some more versatility instead of having to bring a second keyboard so you can play organ and something else together. You've got this mono synth, and I think as I recall that the mono synth and the organ are modeled, but then it also has some Rompler type stuff in there as well.
Yeah, there's a piano in there as well, I think, and
so it really seems like geared towards a live player. So I imagine the organs sound great. That little mono synth didn't really do it for me, but I imagine again this would be something that's for a live player.
Because there's been a slight resurgence in these kind of combo stage organ stroke pianos with the Yamaha YC range. They came out with the YC 61s last year. And they've just announced the 73 and the 88, or 76 and 88 note versions of those, and they are incredible. I mean, if that's your thing, if you want a single instrument that gives you really authentic drawbar organ, pianos, sample, Rompler playback, and synthesis, the YCs take some beating. So I guess this is kind of Hammond's answer to that. Tom, any thoughts on this one?
It's not my cup of tea.
I like it, but it's a nice thing, I guess. If this is again, if this is your bag, Ben.
Yeah, it's similar to Nord Stage as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm quite the opposite to Cryss. I'm not a fan of the organ sounds at all. So you could actually flip that around for me and have like a polyphonic synth and a monophonic organ. That'd be probably all I'd ever need it for, like the odd solo somewhere or something. But,
I'd have to say I don't understand anyone that doesn't like the sound of a really good Hammond organ.
Yeah, it's like I've said before, it comes from when I was a kid. I was listening to these records and I heard this wobbly noise in the background that I didn't really care for, and I used to be
noise.
I used to be listening to the song and think, "Oh God, it's good this, but it's got that awful wobbly noise in it again." And then, like later on, as I started getting into things, when I was about 35,
when you grew up,
I realised
later.
I realised it was an organ, and I can honestly say that I've steered quite clear of them for most of my musical life. But I have like come to like them, like things like Spirit of Eden by Talk, and that it's full of Hammond organ, and it sounds wonderful. You know, there's loads of harmonic,
it's quite. I mean, for an instrument that kind of makes technically kind of one type of sound, it is a very expressive and varied thing. The first time I was in the same room as a Hammond organ, it was a B3 with a Leslie cabinet, and when you're in the same room as one of those things and it's being played well, it's one of those instruments that you don't just hear but you feel. It's multi-sensory, and when you get you can, even if you're close enough, you feel the air being kicked out by the speaker, you get the smell. It's a multi-sensory experience, and it really was mind-blowing, particularly because it was being played by someone who really knew how to do it.
Man, go ahead, Tom.
No, I want only to say I really enjoy organs, but when I cover something like that, I ask myself always, what is new on an organ? Is there now evolution or is something? I personally love to hear. I'm a really prog guy. I hear a lot of progressive rock, metal stuff, and there is of course organs inside. But for me, it's always organ sounds like an organ. It's not something that completely innovative. Maybe this one is now completely new. I don't know.
The interesting way that I guess you combine either splits. I'm guessing you can probably do layers on this as well, but that combination of synthesis and samples and modelling, it should be quite nice. But there you go, that's the new Hammond SkPro, so maybe we'll have a bit more on that when it's officially released at the end of March. Now, Ben said he prefers to have a decent mono synth or a poly synth. How about a brand new paraphonic synth that's coming from IK Multimedia, the UNO Synth Pro, which I have to say their hand was forced this week after it was leaked by Samash on their website. They got a little bit ahead of themselves. And I was speaking to my colleagues at IK this week, and people were having to be raised from their beds in the early hours of the morning over in Italy to finish the web pages because they hadn't been fully completed and get those videos up on the page.
They phoned me at 11 p.m.
Right, yeah, exactly. So it's...
And they decide in the night to say, okay, we will publish it tomorrow.
Yeah. So they had to scrab around, but credit to them, they got it out there, and it seems to have been generating a fairly positive buzz amongst most people. The problem was that Samash, when they published it, they published the prices $649 and the main picture was of the desktop version, which isn't $649 it's €399, and I spoke to the UK sales guy on the morning of this, and he said it's going to be around $429 UK with VAT, because the one thing you have to be careful with IK, it's they do it because it's easier, but all the prices on their website are ex sales tax, so there's no sales tax included, so this will always be added on. So UK price with sales tax is $429 for the for the desktop version, and $699 for the proper keyboard version. So this is really interesting because they've come out with, everybody knows the UNO Synth, the original one, which was this nice little tabletop, battery operated or USB powered, very powerful, dual variable oscillator mono synth with a lovely filter on it and loads of really nice cool little features. But, you know, it kind of was lacking. The sequencer was only 16 steps. And I have to be careful what I say because I help promote these things. But it was a really great synthesizer for the price. But there could have been so much more done to it. And it seems like IK Multimedia have listened. And so this features it's a paraphonic. There's 3 oscillators on here. So they can all be played kind of independently of each other. So you can start to get, you know, layered things going on. They've got this nice illuminated matrix on there. They've got a 64-step sequencer. You know, they've just, you know, it's the UNO Synth on steroids, and of course connectivity at the back now features full 5-pin DIN MIDI. It also features CV and gate. You've got audio in that is processable through the effects as well as the filter. So it's got a huge amount going for it. Shall we listen to a demo? Because there is a fairly nice little demo. Let's pick this out here. I wish there was a way that I could cue these up nicely. Right, here we go. Luca Zabrini, and I'm not sure if I hit the wrong thing there because I didn't put the audio in. So let's try that again. So I've already. Cryss is gone. He's done a walkabout. Here we go. So let's listen to this demo right now. That's nice. That sounds really, really nice, I have to say. And I'm really interested. I've never had a paraphonic synth. Nothing in here is paraphonic. So I'm looking forward to this arriving very soon and having a play with that and kind of trying to get what Mark Doty goes on about with paraphonic synths. But, you know, all in all, that looks a really tidy, capable, very nice sounding synthesizer. Ben, will this one be joining your Sonic arsenal?
Yeah, I think it sounds really good, doesn't it? And I was going to ask you a couple of questions, really, because I'm not that familiar with the UNO synth myself. So I was just wondering, is this synth the same technology as what is in the UNO synth, just expanded further? Oh.
Yeah, it's a new version. So Sound Machines are the guys that produce the engine. Again, they're another Italian. They do a lot of modular stuff. So the actual engines themselves are completely different, but kind of on steroids kind of thing. There's a new filter in there as well. It's basically it's not an UNO Synth Plus. This is a new machine, right. New technology, and they really kind of built on that.
Yeah, great. And what? See, the thing with IK, I'm being careful here because I know you're connected to them and I don't want to offend anyone. But like, IK Multimedia seems to have like so you've got Moog, you've got Sequential that are like up there, and then like down here you've got not down here, in the middle you've got like Korg and Yamaha and sorry about the Yamaha thing, but that's where they've ended up in recent years. Roland, a little bit below. And then for me, like IK Multimedia is like kind of more accessories kind of based, not a synth manufacturer as such. They're they're a musical accessories and software company. That's how I see them.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh well, they're entering the pro arena with this one, and it looks great. It does look great, but is it? What's the build quality like? Is this intended to be a studio machine? Is it intended to do all jobs? Could you take it out live? Is it made out of metal?
Yeah. So the Uno Pro sorry, not the desktop. I have skipped it. The Uno Pro synth with the keyboard version is a metal frame. It's all hand assembled in Italy. The component sound machines they're Italian. The keyboard mechanism is a Fatar TPS 9. I'm not sure I've got the letters the right way around. It's the same one. As the modal stuff. So it's a really, really nice keyboard. It is hand built in Modena, and it's a lovely, lovely thing. And yeah, it's absolutely you're spot on. They're a company that are known for musical accessories. They really hit pay dirt when they got when Apple started promoting their accessories as kind of the de facto iPhone and iPad accessories. So the microphones, the amplifiers, the lights, the whole thing. They make a huge. Even last year they diversified even more, and they started producing these proximity sensors, and they've sold hundreds of thousands of these things, so that people can go back to work and maintain safe social distancing. So it vibrates and beeps at you when you get too close. So that they've got this kind of technological know-how, but they've got into the hardware business because they did this thing with sound machines. And they've kept it very Italian. I have to say, I'm feeling quite proud. This is a completely all Italian machine. Italian keyboard, Italian design, Italian manufacture. So it really is a wonderful thing. It's kind of nice to see. And I think one of their promo videos actually made a whole point of the history of Italian synths, with the Elkas and what have you, and the Krumars. So it's nice to see. But
and according to them, they solved the USB noise problem.
Yes. So that was something that was it bugs. It bugs everything that's powered by USB. So whether it's your little NTS ones or your Sculpts or your Craft synth things, anything that's powered by USB that's connected to the same computer that you're feeding the audio back in, you're going to get this ground loop. So you either get little ground loop isolators, or you power it some other way, and that's always a pain. So with the UNO Synth Pro, the keyboard version is mains powered. So you have a wall wart power supply, so that gets rid of anything like that. The desktop version, which I have to say looks really neat, is essentially that central part of the synth with a capacitive surface keyboard. And I do need to point this out: it's not membrane. I had a discussion with somebody a few days ago that said, "No, I don't like the Uno synth. It's got a membrane." It's not membrane. It's capacitive. It's touch. It's like your phone.
Looks to me, the design looks a bit to me like from Akai.
It has very red and black.
And I say to Akai Multimedia, to one of my colleagues there, do you have one who loves Akai? And she said, yes, we have one in the designer group with Akai lover.
Excellent. But it looks like a really it's. I can't vouch for its build quality until I get one here. And I was supposed to have one here last year, but of course COVID got in the way, so unfortunately it hasn't materialized yet, and this wasn't supposed to be announced until February. But it's nice that they've users have got choice. So with the Cobalt and the Argon, you've got a desktop module, you've got a 37 note and a 61 note. With this, you've got a small desktop module and a 37, so you haven't got the huge variety. I would have liked for it to have been a bigger synth, but this looks really nice. Chris, thoughts on this?
Yeah, some points should be given for the Fatar key bed, which is very nice, in the metal housing. IK Multimedia is interesting. I'm really a big fan of Amplitube and the T-Rex software, and I use those on pretty much every recording project that I have. So I'm a big fan of their software. Their hardware has been a bit hit and miss for me. In fact, until this week, this was the only piece of IK hardware that hasn't crapped out on me in some way or another. And actually, this still works fine. It's just that they released an update for it, and it won't load on here. So
right. That's odd.
Yay!
Let me know about that. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, but you know, as far as what it is, it just seems like it's a little bit expensive for what it is. You know, for what a comparable price, or maybe a little bit more. You're into the modal stuff, which I think are better synthesizers. So
without doubt.
Yeah, and also more knobby. Like that's one thing that didn't really attract me about this. I wish I would have rather had a more immediate interface on it. So. Some of the sounds on it are nice though, but for me, probably this would be a pass.
Yeah. I think actually the pricing, you know, it's I'm sure it'll shift because they always do it. So a street price will be less. But as you say, I mean, $699 UK, and that's with tax. So that puts it in the region of an Argon 8 X or a Cobalt 8X, and you cannot compare those with this sonically. You know, it's a different, you know, it's a genuine analog machine for a start. It is hand built in Europe, so who knows?
Well, the other thing that should be mentioned too is a lot of times is that they market stuff for their own ecosystem. So, for instance, I mean, like I don't know what the Uno drum is new. $200 or $300 or something.
Yeah, it was around €269 without tax. So yeah, about that.
Yeah, so that's pretty expensive. I think it's a great little drum machine, but you know, because I purchase, you know, Amplitude and stuff like that. You've got their jam points. Then I waited for a sale, so I got this for brand new for $116. So if you're already in there, you know, buying their products and you have your jam points and things like that, perhaps that would bring it into like a much more interesting price range for a lot of users.
Yeah. Tom, what are your thoughts on this?
A bit too expensive, but as it continues like or happens like the Uno Synth and Uno Drum, the price will drop quite quick. It's because I remember the Uno Synth was $249 or $229 started, and now it's even in during Black Friday in Europe it was $140, $130, and second hand €100.
Yeah, well, I saw a new one, and it was an official retail outlet for €109.99. So whether that was just a clearance sale or whatever, but you know, you can pick these up really cheap now. And to be honest, it's a great little synth for what it is. But this really kind of, you know, puts some stuff back in.
And if it doesn't sell well, the price goes down, of course.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm pretty sure it will go down because we are in our bubble, and our bubble is oversaturated.
Yeah,
we have too much. We have too much gear. We have too much analog gear. Who needs now a paraphonic analog synth? Okay, it's programmable. You can save patches, but how many paraphonic synths are out there?
Yeah, that's very true. It's a lovely, you know, kind of looking thing. The connectivity, I think, is much better. The fact that you've got full-size TRS jacks, full-size MIDI ports, as well as the audio in and the CV in gates, and then of course, you know, this auxiliary power USB and a separate USB for MIDI. So that isolates it from, you know, the audio chain, which makes it nice. But as soon as it arrives, then we'll be showing it off here and whoops, knocking bits off my desk. Sorry.
Does it come with editor software?
Yeah.
I think you would need an editor to get the most out of that.
Yeah, not seen that yet, but that's always the case, you know. And I have to say, the editor software on the Uno Synth and the Uno Drum is really nice. The way it integrates, it's one of the best out there. It's up there with, you know, with Modal and their apps. Brilliant. So and that should be on the iOS and desktop.
The Uno Synth Pro needs to be Pro, more knobs, definitely.
Yeah, this is true.
I think if I was going to get one, I'd probably get the little one.
Yeah.
You know, because it's going to sound exactly the same as the other one, isn't it? So you probably just MIDI it up anyway.
The matrix function on here is, I know it's not a mod matrix, but I just call it the way you step through. Once you kind of got used to that on the Uno synth, that was a really very simple to navigate around.
Yeah.
But I do agree with Tom that a few more controls would be nice. Says the man who likes digital synths.
Yeah. You're only used to one fader anyway.
One control slider. What more do you need? What more do you need?
Here's a question for you guys. Like, when are we going to start really seeing the integration of USB-C onto synthesizers and drum machines and all this stuff, instead of what's the one that I have now?
That's
on
a good
these? Is
point.
it micro USB?
Yeah.
Is that the correct one?
That's
I
right.
think that's USB-C on the back of that new one.
That's
USB.
USB.
No, it's not.
Micro.
It's micro
Oh, is it?
USB.
Micro.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So,
Shit.
I mean,
Yeah.
I hate them. I'm still kind of baffled why we're not seeing USB-C more.
So I was quite happy to see that Arturia changed the USB input for the KeyStep 37.
Yeah.
Because the KeyStep, this first one, had this micro USB. It felt always out of the unit, and now they have this this A. I think it's this A.
Yeah.
It's far better.
Right,
It's
Yeah, they Microfreak got a USB B, which is great because it's a solid connection to it.
Yeah.
So a big plus for me for innovation who is doing entire things now in USB-C. The launch pads and maybe also the new circuits.
Yeah. I'm surprised actually that the keyboard version of the Uno Synth Pro didn't have the USB-A connector rather than the micro, because that would have just been more substantial and in fitting with the more substantial build of the instrument. But yeah, USB-C, I mean, I'm seeing it increasingly now in music gear, and it is nicer, and I must get around to purchasing some more adapters, because all I've got at the moment are these kind of like 6-inch things that adapt from one to the other, so I need to buy some more of those at some point. Yeah, so there you go, Uno Synth Pro. So I believe February is around the time that it should have been launched. When we're going to see them in the shops, not entirely sure. They're still tweaking firmware and stuff at the moment, but yeah, fingers crossed. It'll be available very soon, and yeah, as soon as we get one here, we will let you have a listen, and maybe we'll do a special. Do something like that. Right. What shall we do next? Yes. Let's do this. So get your PSM bingo cards ready, because we're going to be talking FM, Yamaha, and the FS1R. So I've been following this guy on the FS1R Facebook owners page, or whatever it's called, and he's been slowly, and I mean slowly, over the last few years, building this thing up piece by piece. It is all custom made, and it essentially exposes all the critical and main programming areas of the FS1R module, which you can just see at the top of the video there, which is often referred to when it comes to programming, like painting the Sistine Chapel with a quill through a letterbox. So this really does open everything up. Let's have a listen to the video and see what you think. Okay, that kind of gives you an idea of what is capable of this thing. It's it's just a stunning piece of work. It's a one-off. It's not a commercial project. You cannot go out and buy this. This has been designed by Robert, and I'm not really. I'd love to be able to try and pronounce that. SkPro, I think maybe is the way to pronounce his surname. There are some details about how he went about doing this. I actually spoke to him and said, look, if you ever want to make the plans available so that somebody else can just go out and buy all the bits that you need and build them themselves, I would like to know. Very reminiscent of the Jellinghouse controller from back in the 80s for the DX7. But yeah, I mean, custom controllers. We love custom controllers, don't we?
No, it's impressive,
yeah.
For me.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I love the FS1 Air from Yamaha. It's
it is a
totally unique synth.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. Would this change your mind, maybe, Ben? And would this make you want to get something like an FS1R? Or?
Well, yeah, I thought when I was watching the demo, it had like a BBC radiophonic workshop kind of quality about
true.
it.
Yeah,
the sounds kind of sounded like Quatermass and the Pit, and it looked like it wouldn't have looked out of place apart from that screen and a couple of LED buttons. It wouldn't have looked out of place back in the day.
Yeah,
I don't think. But I think it just shows you how we've been let down by this data entry programming method, I think, because once you open it all up in front of you like that, then controls bounce off each other being used simultaneously. You might be turning a filter while you're turning down some LFO rate or whatever, and you find a sweet spot by working with two controls at once, which you can't do with that other way. And I think the sounds that were coming out of it in the demo kind of really showed that that's what it was bringing out of the machine. It's a shame that there isn't something commercially available like that for everybody to get the most out of it. I mean, I suppose you could do it with software, but then you're still limited to what the mouse can grab hold of.
And as we said numerous times on the show before, when we've looked at custom controllers, we looked at that one for the Juno recently, and there have been others that these are wonderful things, but they're just probably not commercially viable because there's not enough people out there to justify mass production, which would then in turn give a reasonable market price. But hats off to these mad geniuses that sit wherever they're sat making this stuff. It really is quite inspirational. What do you think, Cryss?
Yeah, it's fantastic, especially with a form of synthesis that has been so inaccessible for many years. And I believe it was your SOS interview with Manny Fernandez, if I recall, that he was talking about FM is not really that much more difficult to program. The thing is, you have to have the kind of muscle memory to learn it, just like you do with subtractive. Now, if the way to get the muscle memory of if I change this parameter, this happens. If this parameter changes, this happens, is a menu where you're going in and pressing a couple buttons and then you're moving one slider. That process takes so long and it's so slow that you're not going to develop it in the same way as if you can just sit and you can start twisting knobs anywhere you want on your synthesizer. And I think that this kind of opens that up. I had a brief conversation with Mark Barnes, one of our friends on ProSynth Network, and he's been programming and doing a sound set for the Korg Op 6, and he had not much experience with FM programming. He does a lot of subtractive programming and the wave state, and he said that it just made it so much more accessible and easy to program, and he got some great sounds out of it. And I think that's a kind of opportunities that these type of controllers afford the user, because it makes it so much quicker to get into it, and you don't have to spend as much time on the math of submenu 5, parameter 5, going through that. Rather, you can spend more time in the artistic realm of it, where you're crafting and you're changing knobs.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Manny agrees.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
So there you go. You can't get a thing. I mean, do you see many of these kind of bespoke controllers popping up, Tom?
indie, in indie form, yeah.
Yeah.
The people are doing this as indie or one or two units, but how about a controller, a modular controller who is capable of all these things?
Yeah.
There's a stereo ping controller with a lot of these things, but others.
There was that touchscreen one I never remember the name, but it was a large screen, wasn't it? Sorry, what was that?
Lemur?
No, it wasn't the Lemur. It was something else. It had knobs on the left and the right and underneath, I think, and then it hosted the plug-in, and the plugins screen was on the thing. Yeah, that's it. So I mean that's nice, because then that's plugins, and they all the controllers are auto mapped.
I think we don't need so much MIDI controllers. We need just good interface designers.
Yes.
Look at the example of Cryss of the Op 6. Mm-hmm. I had the unit for 1 month now for testing. I sent it back now this week. It's brilliant from the programming aspect. It takes FM to a new programming interface dimension, in my opinion, because otherwise you are menu. Here you are simplifying every step, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's made it accessible, which is what it needed to be.
The Op 6 is a plastic bomb. It doesn't have aftertouch and so on, but from the design, brilliant, and from the sounds also. Yeah,
absolutely, agree. And then the Essence FM, which we speak about again, and I'm still waiting for that one to turn up with its touchscreen, which really it's like touchscreen was made for that kind of programming. So we'll see. But there you go. That's the FS1R controller from Robert Skerjank. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. There is more information if you can read German on the Amazona.de website, and the link is in his video, which you can just search Yamaha FS1R Unleashed, and I think I posted it on the ProSynth Network Facebook page. Right, another quick update here from one of our favourite manufacturers, developers, whatever you want to call them. This is a brand new update for the BBC Symphony Orchestra. This introduces a whole bunch of fixes and updates to existing...
Hi there, Paul Thompson here from Spitfire Audio.
Existing instruments.
I'm going to talk you through this.
Paul's just going to talk over me there. This also introduces something like 36.5 gigabytes of Chimbasso sounds as well, so the brass section has now been expanded, and it's a completely free update for BBC Symphony Orchestra Pro and core users. So the core users don't get quite as much of the update, but they get all the kind of little bug fixes and stuff and a few extra sounds, and of course the Pro gets the full whack. It's a healthy download. I've had a play with it. It's very nice, as it always is. It just there's more to play with in terms of the the brass sounds, but it's nice to see that there's some significant updates. That I'm hoping there'll be more, maybe some more strings in there as well, more percussion. Now, Cryss, you've got core, but you said you haven't been able to update just yet.
Yeah, I haven't gotten around to it, but what fantastic software.
Yeah, it's just great, and I'm so glad that they're forging ahead with their own non-contact interface, which is a great thing. Ben, you have it, but you have the Discover version, don't you? So
I only have the Discover one. Yeah,
he's the poor one of us.
Yeah, and I was the fool that bought it as well. I didn't realise that you could get it for free.
You were just too keen. You were too keen.
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered waiting. But
does this tempt you to buy it? To upgrade?
It really does. It really does. I know it's expensive, but for doing the film stuff and that, it's just. I was playing it before, and I was with Vicky, and I said to Vicky, just listen to that. That could be put behind a scene in a film. Just him tinkering on that. I don't know what it was, tuba sound or whatever, and it just works. It just sounds totally authentic and cinematic as well. It's an excellent sound bank, and the additions that they've brought in, 36 gig. It's just. That's a humongous update, that, and the quality of them all, and there's altered articulations as well, isn't there? With some and it just
I'm still
they're
learning.
Just the best at it, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
It's one of those things you have to learn to play a Spitfire instrument because of the very clever way that they've mapped everything. You can't just, it's not just, play away and it all works. If you've chosen a particular articulation, you have to learn how to play that articulation on a keyboard, which is, there is a unique way. But saying that, it's still quite an intuitive way of doing it. So, Tom, are you familiar with BBC SO?
I know the product, but it's not my...
not your thing?
Not my main thing.
Sure.
It's not on my list.
No.
Top 10 list.
I guess it's it's kind of it's a niche thing if you really require a full symphonic orchestra for your stuff. But yeah, there you go. So Ben's disappeared off camera, so we'll just have. Thankfully, he's got rid of the off-cam shot that he told us about last week, which we thankfully didn't see. Let's talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart. And again, this will have people ticking off their stuff on the PSN bingo. But it's now official that CME's WIDI units now support 1-to-4 MIDI through and 4-to-1 MIDI merge. So this is a really cool feature that allows you to choose kind of like a master WIDI that controls 4 devices across however many channels. Or you can take 4 into 1 and use a MIDI merge. And this is all done through the WIDI app, which is a free download on your device. And any thought? I mean, does this, Cryss? Does this make wireless MIDI any more appealing to you?
I think that what CME is doing is absolutely fantastic. I'm just scared of getting into lots of more little devices in my studio. So I'm avoiding it. But every time I see WIDI stuff come up, I'm like, man, I should probably buy one of those right now while they're on special. But I'm like, nah, I don't want to deal with it.
I think. But I think. Let's say the special offer, I think, either ran out yesterday or today, where you could get like $30, €30 off for a pre-order. But even so, it's $59 for a pair or for the WIDI jack, because they're now shipping apparently. So I've had the little WIDI jack now for some while, and that's great. But what I really like about it is the fact that I bought some gear in the last couple of weeks, and I have not had to do that whole where am I going to connect it? What's it going to go in? Which MIDI interface am I going to have to put it in? Have I got some spare MIDI cables? Then run the cables around the room and have to because when you plug something in, invariably you have to unplug something else first to get round. So all I've done, with my TD3, just a WIDI jack in the back there, away you go. Another synth over there, plugged it in. Nothing to worry about. It's just so convenient, and then now being able to go 4-to-1 or 1-to-4 is just great. Tom,
how is for a WIDI? How is the latency of it? Because I have always fear with wireless and MIDI because it's latency.
So and it's the question that everyone asks, and all I can say is that in my experience, in this room, because this is the only place I've had to use it. We can't go and play live. Not that I do play live, but in this room, the latency is imperceivable. So you just don't notice it. Obviously, there is some there, but they reckon it's around 3 milliseconds with a decent range. I think the range of the WIDI Masters the range of this WIDI jack is actually bigger than the original WIDI Masters, so it's something like 20 meters, and then obviously line of sight and stuff helps. But I've had no interference. I've recorded sessions using it, and it's flawless. Really, it is flawless. What I would like to see, and I'm as keen as anybody else, I'd like to see somebody like Benjamin down there in the bottom left-hand corner. Once he gets gigging again, I'd like to see if that works live.
I've got a couple of sets here ready for that purpose.
Yeah. There he goes.
There we go. And I'm waiting to. I've managed to leave them in the packaging and everything because
I don't throw. I don't throw my packaging away. I keep it because, just as Cryss said, if I don't have them in the packaging or in the instrument, they're a little bit too small and they're going to get lost.
Yeah.
So I keep the packaging just in case. But,
I'll definitely use that live. It'd be great. I presume you can send light into it and all kinds. So
yeah, I mean anything. Yeah. I don't think there's been a problem because they've updated the firmware because there was a slight issue with long SysX. So if you had a very long kind of SysX transmission, there was a bit of an issue there, but they've fixed that in the latest firmware, which is available again, free of charge download. Somebody asked in the chat room, is the frequency 2.4 megahertz? Yeah, it's Bluetooth, so it's on. I forget the exact. It's something like 2.485 to 2.4 or 2.445 to 2.485, and it does that whole kind of multi-band thing. So it's in the 2.4 gigahertz range. So
Robbie, you're very well educated in this area. I was just wondering because it's not compatible with my Bluetooth, in my Mac. And
sorry, it's not compatible with your Bluetooth in your Mac.
No.
What are you running, like a Power PC?
I've got well, more or less. I've got a 5.1 Mac Pro, so and it's got Bluetooth in it, but it's just like earlier that it's like version 2 or something like that.
So it works with 4 and 5.
Yeah, so there is because I've switched to the Mac now. You can take the Bluetooth card out and put a new one in.
Right.
But I was wondering if you could just buy one of those like $4.99 Bluetooth dongle things, and put that in the machine. Will that connect up, or is it?
I'd like to say yes, but I have a feeling that the Bluetooth MIDI protocol requires a bit more than just one of these things, one of these Bluetooth things, because obviously there are lots of different protocols within MIDI. So there's the audio protocol, which is an additional thing, and the MIDI protocol is an additional thing. What I would suggest is the WIDI U host, which is the next one in the range that's going to be coming out later this year. So I reckon we're probably going to see that maybe Q3 of this year, which you can then plug into a USB port, and it will give you Bluetooth MIDI transmission and receiving from your host computer. And the main reason for the existence of that is because Windows doesn't natively support Bluetooth MIDI.
And there's still again a cable.
Yes, there will be but from what I know, it will be a little device that's going to be about the same size as the WIDI jack, which has the magnetic thing on the back. So short little dongle type cable, and just stick this on the back of your laptop or wherever, and you should be good to go. But there's going to be.
I'm still not a fan of these things, because then you said, you need a USB dongle for this. Then why take it?
For these ones, yeah. But for the other ones, they're powered.
Then you have these USB cables then, and why not taking a simple MIDI cable instead?
Well, the WIDI masters are all powered via, the MIDI power supply. So if your device conforms to the full MIDI standard and outputs the 3.3 or 5 volts over MIDI, they work without anything. But the WIDI jack was designed for people whose instruments don't have power at the MIDI ports, so you have to get it from somewhere.
How different are they, or comparable with this Yamaha MIDI jacks? Or
so the Yamaha ones are Bluetooth 4, so it's an older spec, so there will be probably more noticeable latency because Bluetooth 5 was much better. But I cannot say accurately because I've never used the Yamaha one. And then Roland recently launched a set, but unfortunately the Roland ones only speak to other Roland ones, so they're not universal. So WIDI actually will speak to the Roland, but Rolands don't speak back to the WIDI, which is just weird. So
3 milliseconds.
Andy was asking how much they cost, the WIDI.
So €59 for either the WIDI these things here. Just pop it out. It's a tight fit, that one.
The small one are €49 at Thomann.
Yes, I think now they're being sold on places like Thomann and Amazon. They're clearly cutting them down. But so this is your WIDI master, which is detachable. You have that goes in your WIDI out, and then you can if you need to use MIDI in, then you just plug in the little attachment there. They're €59 list price from the manufacturer, the same as the WIDI jack. That's 59, and I assume that the U-host as well will be around that same price. So affordable. I mean, obviously a lot more than a MIDI cable, but a lot more convenient. So I'm slowly increasing the number of permanently installed WIDIs in here, and as yet I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4 devices at the moment. And managing them is really easy, and there's no perceivable latency.
Well, that's what I was going to say. 3 milliseconds. I think that's what my DAW does on the round trip.
Yeah.
So like you're working with that all the time anyway.
It's
not.
It's really it's unnoticeable. Obviously, it's there, but it's completely unnoticeable. And I would like to see it. A lot of people say, oh well, when you get into a live environment and you've got all sorts of Wi-Fi and 4G, 5G. Bouncing around, things are going to get interfered. Even just kind of high-tech stuff is going to interfere. I'd like to see it. I'd like to, see that proven. So, Ben, I'm counting on you.
Yeah, as soon as I get the chance, we'll be trying it. Yeah.
Excellent. Right, so there you go. That's if you are invested in the WIDI concept. So the new firmware allows for this, 1-to-4 and 4-to-1 merging, and it's entirely flexible. It's very good indeed. Right, let's. What are we now? 9:10. Let's got lots of news now. It's all kind of catching up with us after the Christmas and New Year lull.
Do you want to take a little time to ask Tom some questions?
We could do that indeed. Let me just find the appropriate tab. So, for those of you who don't know, and I'll be surprised if there's anybody in there that doesn't know. Tom is responsible for this lovely website, Synth Anatomy, which is many people's go-to website for news, information, deals, leaks, rumours, reviews, sound demos. It's all there. So really what I wanted to know, and I'm sure Cryss and Ben have got questions as well, why, Tom? Why? What made you do this? Because, look, I've tried... With my website, I try to do comprehensive news and reviews. I just don't have enough hours in the day. Why do you do this?
Why I put the hassle in me to making this? That's a long story. No, it's a short story. I moved to Vienna to learn here. To make my studies. I make studies in economics in Luxembourg because I'm from Luxembourg normally, but I live in Vienna, and then I make my master here in journalism and media. And I had friends for about synthesizers, and I was always the guy who knows everything. Mm-hmm. Every news, every software news, hardware news, and so on. And one day, the guy from the Endorphins, from the module, said to me, "How about making a blog?" And so the thing started.
Right.
And so the website started, and
and it's kind of snowballed from there. So is this like a full-time thing for you now, or do you squeeze it in between a day job?
No. I have a full. That's my full-time job.
Okay, and
I write sometimes for Amazona.de.
Okay.
For the Germans, because I'm German. I speak 4 languages.
Right. Okay.
So I write for them also some articles or some news now for the NAMM show and so on.
Okay, that's good. And I mean, I'm not going to press you for numbers or digits, but you're obviously earning a living from this. So if you invest the time and the effort, which you clearly do. Mm-hmm. This is providing you with a decent income, I guess.
Yeah.
Good.
I have my partners and so on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, you also do reviews, and what I like is mostly these non-talking things. You just want to hear the damn thing, and that's what I think a lot of people appreciate about your videos. Was that a conscious thing to kind of do the non-talking videos? That
has a main reason, because I'm not a fan of talking reviews. Because why? Either you are a talking guy, you want to entertain people, and put the product beside.
Yep.
Or you are the guy, or you focus on the device and it's on. It's something you see on YouTube. It's want to people sell them as Mr. Synth Reviewer, or they want to sell you as the you want to sell or you don't sell, but want to present the product. So there are two different approaches to this. And for me, I'm not the guy to present myself as I'm so amazing. I'm your best friend ever you can have, and touch me. I need to sell you my mugs, my t-shirts, my everything. I'm not that marketing guy. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm more the guy that's more that journalistic style, more. Putting even my criticism because often YouTubers review the stuff they love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that doesn't make sense to me. Why I review something that I love, because then the review becomes positive.
Yes.
It becomes good. It becomes not a lot of critics, and so that's something I really have problems in today's world. Is the name review. 80% of the videos that are out there are not reviews.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because a review needs to be positive and negative, and this should be cleared. And some have said fear that they lose their partners and so on. I have I can clearly say that not every company sent me stuff or to review and so on. I even get not the press from every company. Maybe I'm too aggressive, or maybe too direct with my opinion.
Well, no, that's a good thing. I think that's one thing I found. I tried to do more reviews, and I found that I'm a writer more than a talker, surprisingly. And so I'm a big fan of long form journalism, and I like to write paragraphs and get in, paint pictures with words, that kind of thing. And so I tried to do my videos in the same way, and they ended up becoming 30-40 minute videos, and half the YouTube comments were like, "Stop talking!" And I'm like, well, this is what I do. I know it's not what you like, so you can go somewhere else. But
especially this video is called "You need to watch this video before buying it."
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a YouTube thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it has massive influence on it.
Because you want to have the clicks, you have to have this, and no, I'm not a fan of it.
I got my check from Google for 2020 about a week or so ago. £65. That's it. I'm off. I'm going to Mauritius or wherever. 65 quid. From my video, so there you go. Goes to show that
I was watching. Yeah, I was watching something last night. Funnily enough, it was this girl, and she puts these videos out. She had 1 million views on something, and she got like 89p in payment for those 1 million views, and it was because she'd used her own music in it that was published. So all the money went to the publishing company instead of her. So she only gets a part of what she should have got if she hadn't have published it.
Yeah, absolutely. Simon in the chat room is asking a question. I'm going to throw it over to Cryss in a minute just to get some stuff from there. So he wants to know what this is a loaded question if there ever was one. What's your working relationship like with Behringer, friend or foe? So I'm guessing that you found it as probably as difficult as the rest of us have in building said kind of relationship.
Well, you have to say it's obvious. It can be seen on the Facebook side. There are haters, there's lovers, everything. And if I write my own opinion, and that's why I stopped now doing this, because it's become so if I can say this here, pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because you're if you're writing something pro Behringer, you're happy with the lovers, and then you get the comments from the haters. If you are against Behringer, you get the haters and the lovers again. So what to make right is, I don't know.
You can't win.
So that's why I put now less and less focus on Behringer. I will publish the news. It's fine. I don't have any problems with synth clones. It's fine. It's old technology.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to give not a lot of reviews or my own comments to it, because it's time consuming.
Yeah.
I lose on this swing thing. I spent 3 days on reading comments, and people are hating each other, deleting comments because they are to go over this there was too much hating, and they become hate speech. And so, hey, is this now politics, or is this now a synth topic or so? So I decided for myself, putting more the neutral or more the not so deep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always a problem with Behringer, because they are very special with media. They are not giving. They don't send stuff for review mostly the time.
No.
And if you review something, we are bad, or we are fake news and whatever.
Yeah.
And then it becomes annoying.
Yeah. I mean, when the likes of Sound on Sound magazine, 35, 36-year-old publication, cannot get a review model of any of the Behringer gear, and they politely ask for it, don't get it. They have to go out and buy it themselves if they want to review it, and they make a conscious decision. Are we going to do that, or are we not? Whereas everyone else, will look at respected publications around the globe, whether it's online like Tom, or whether it's print magazines or whatever, and they know that there's a big audience there. They want to hear this stuff, so they send them this stuff, and they don't play by the playbook, the rule book, I guess, and maybe Uli thinks he's very edgy that way. Cryss, you got any questions for Tom?
Yeah, actually, so when we got started last year, looking as far as resources for synthesizer and other music gear news, I kept finding myself repeatedly going to your articles on your website, got connected to your Facebook page, and then it ended up being like 90% of the links that I would send to guys were from your website, Synth Anatomy, and then all of a sudden they also too were sending me, and us, links from your website, and I found myself. This is a compliment leading up to a question. But I found myself finding it a great resource, because even if I heard a rumor of something from some other place, or it came up in my feed from a different Facebook group or something, usually this is where I go to find some like really concise information on whatever is, whatever new item it is. Like I could go check it out. There's usually some videos there that we can hear how it sounds. I listen to the video while I'm reading through the article and find out what you've said about it. And so that's something that I've really appreciated, that you've had this great service to us musicians, and you really have done a great job providing an objective look at music gear. Of course, like Pro Synth Network, we're all about the subjective, so we get on here and gas on with our opinions, but we have found your work to be a great basis for a lot of the stuff we do.
Yeah.
But because you've been do so well with this subjective look or objective look at music gear, this this is what it is, this is what it has, this is how it sounds. What about your subjective experience with music? How you got started, and also, what is it that are your go-to synthesizers or other music gear?
Oh, it's not. It's not. I'm not an educated musician. It's not. That's. I'm not a player. I'm not a. I'm not a. I'm not a trained musician. That's for sure. But I prefer to discover new sounds. I'm more the sound designer or sound explorer. I'm more the. I don't want to play Bach or Mozart back on my keyboard. That's not my mission. Or I don't want to, I would say, not play back a cover of Depeche Mode or so. I want to discover new sounds, and if they are sometimes a bit strange and bizarre, that I don't have a problem with this, because it's a journey that I make, even with a new synthesizer. So my approach is more, I try to catch the different features, try it out what is possible, and not to give people like, you can do this bread and butter sound and you can do this and do this, because that doesn't help anyone. Because maybe you are making a different music than me, because I'm more the experimental, more drones, more ambient and so on. I'm not that pop or rock, or even I listen a lot to rock music.
And have you always been that way, or is that something that you kind of grew in with your music experience?
No, it was always so. I started as an iOS musician, mainly. I'm still totally in iOS, because it is a wonderful platform, and now even that the Model 15 app is available for macOS, it's for me, I'm super happy to see this, because it's a step forward from iOS to macOS.
Yeah.
So I love new technologies. I'm not the guy that I need this clone and this clone, I need a Minimoog, I have a cup of tea with Minimoog on it. I'm not dominated by the thing I need now, a Minimoog. I'm more happy to have stuff that is unique, like the Quadratic Swarm from Aerowave, or this Vector Synth, which I have also for testing, which is very, very special. Many doesn't like the sound. So I'm more in this kind of sonic explorations than, again, the same thing over and over.
So you said iOS. Do you also then enjoy experimenting in Eurorack?
Mm. I've here, there is my Eurorack domain. It's maybe not to see here, but Eurorack.
Yeah,
And actually I have a even an older synth here from Korg, the Z1.
Get a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I
I've got one here.
Hey, Cryss.
I get one. I got an endless loan from a friend whose room is too little where he lives. So he said to me, "Do you want it?" Yes. Why not?
Yeah.
And it's one of the synths that catch me a lot, because it's different. It's not this virtual analog, or it's not this always the same thing.
Yeah, it's a unique synth, that one, for sure.
And it's one of the problems I see still in the synth communities is the big companies like Korg, Yamaha, Roland and so on got too much marketing buzz from people. We need to give more focus on young companies, unknown companies who try something, who have the balls to try something that maybe is not a big success, but they try to be something really unique. I'm a big fan of the Korg Minilogic due of the multi-engine, for example.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they try something new, and this really cool that you can exchange the oscillators, the effects and so on. So that's a big point for me.
It's a really good platform, that, isn't it? Really good platform.
So for me, that's why I also put a lot of focus on my website or in the coverage and so on young companies, on young developers who maybe try something new and not like Roland Zancor repeating and say we are not chasing the analog ghosts. Yeah.
Those small companies really have a lot of obstacles in their way, especially if they are doing something unique and new that people don't automatically know what it is, and they're competing with much bigger companies with big advertising budgets. So I think that's a great thing to be able to feature companies like that.
Yeah, definitely. Ben, any questions for Tom?
Yeah, but one of them was going to be, is that a Z1 behind you? But you've already answered that. Another one is just like, if we're like Cryss said earlier, if we're researching something, we'll go online and look. But your site seems to be early stage rumours and that. You get onto this stuff like really early on. How do you do your research? Because if we're getting taken to your website, where's it coming from for you? Yeah.
What are your sources? Will you have to kill us?
I'm not after actual specifics, but like, how do you go about it?
Well, I have the Mr. Assange of the synths.
Just don't get yourself arrested or deported. Yeah, it's
no, it's often things that comes from Facebook groups, Twitter, Reddit. It's from everywhere, and it's what is funny is always when I watch something, I will find something.
Yeah,
it's something,
how long?
It's something that attracts me. You say, hey, there's something.
Yeah, and do you dedicate a set amount of time per day just for research? Is that
not really?
No, it's just
because
casual?
it comes to me.
Yeah.
And I have even readers for my website. They message me, hey, do you saw this?
Yeah.
I've had that. When I was trying to do more of that kind of stuff, I got people sending me say, "Oh, have you seen this?" No, I haven't. And you kind of.
And sometimes, I can say this. Sometimes the leaks are so good that the companies call me. Can you please remove it? Mm-hmm. And the best I can talk about is open because it's so funny. The last cork, the Op6 was also a leak from. Second Op6 was a leak from Sweden, I think, from the Swedish website, and they call me from Japan. They write me, do we have a good relationship with you? And I write back to them, no, we don't have.
But we could.
But that's the strange thing. Always then companies arrive or message me, can you remove this? They're often companies who are not dealing with me at all. So that's the first time they call me in 1 year.
Yeah.
And then when I publish this, they write me, can you remove it? And I say, why?
What's in it for you? Yeah.
Yeah. Why? What is my plus from you? Yeah. Sure, I came with Multimedia was fine because I know them very good. The team I know them very well, and because always on the shows and also privately, and also some other companies. But it's a different level than if a company who are not familiar or ignore you, where you ask for press and you get no feedback, and then they call me to remove it. It's doesn't make sense to me. No, so this leaks and rumors is always a play on German on Seil. It's always a thing 50-50.
Yeah.
If it's fine, I'm quite impressed that Novation doesn't call me to remove the circuit leaks.
Yeah. Well, I think this is going to tie nicely in with we're going to go to our weekly discussion here. But I think there is some benefit. I think, and I've had discussions with companies where they say, just put that picture out there, put that on your social media, or just mention this or mention that, and see what happens. And it's been low-level stuff, but there is clearly, there are some people that, with modern-day word-of-mouth marketing, it's a thing that leaks are a thing. So, and so therefore, I mean, obviously you have a dedicated page for that on your website for leaks and rumours. So that kind of brings us on to this topic. And thanks ever so much for some really wonderful insights there, Tom. It's really interesting to kind of hear how you go about doing what you do, and more of it, please. Thank you. But this topic here, which was our weekly discussion, and we did have you in mind when we created this. We wanted to know what everybody thought about leaks, because obviously this week we had the IK Multimedia leak, and we had the Korg Op 6 leak, and those two came through retailers. Now we know that retailers get advanced information, and they have to prepare their web pages and what have you, and they're provided this material under the condition that they don't announce it until the embargo is lifted. But then sometimes the embargo is lifted early, sometimes they breach the embargo, and is it just clever marketing? So we asked this question of our audience, captive audience over on the Facebook page, and there were basically two dominant responses. The most was, it's all just clever marketing to create buzz. So that the majority of the people that voted on this thought that leaks are deliberate actions by marketing departments from companies to create the buzz. And then the significant vote was that they liked them, because we asked, do you like these leaks or not? Would you rather wait until there's a finished product? And a lot of people said, they get excited. Gas is good. So what's your opinion on that, Tom? With regards to it being a deliberate marketing ploy, do you find that at all?
I think the last ones, 3-4 ones, was no marketing.
Mm-hmm. So
for Micro Multimedia, I know that was not a marketing because they
were upset.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The Korg one was also not marketing, because I got a long conversation with them why I should remove the leak or not.
Mm-hmm.
And finally I removed Op 6 and SQ64.
Yeah.
I don't. These are no marketing leaks.
Mm.
I don't see the reason why they contact me and say remove it when it's marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then as you say, the IK Multimedia one was definitely not marketing, because the word was that somebody's going to not maybe necessarily lose their job. But
there's one in the comments writes, was it marketing when Jean-Michel Jarre mentioned this 2600 last year? I think that was also an error from him, because he removed it very, very quick from chat.
Yeah.
No, many of the things are not for marketing.
No.
Because as you said before, it's due of the logistics from the shops. They need to put them online. They put them on their systems, and often they get in the beginning other dates when it's released, and then they change the date and forgot to tell them, hey, it will be released later. And it's often happened to smaller brands like now Musiker or smaller shops, because there's never a leak from Thomann or other bigger shops.
Yeah,
it's always from smaller brands.
Well, this case, Sam Ash is a pretty big.
Ash,
It's a very big company.
So Tempo Remoto in the chat asked this question: what's the negative of a leak? I don't get it. I mean, Tom, I'm sure you have a point of view on this, but from what I know, companies have planned marketing strategies. They want to hit certain markets at certain times through certain channels, and a lot of work goes into that. And if somebody leaks it on a particular website, whether it's Synth Anatomy or whether it's Gear Sluts or whether it's whatever, that can put a real spanner in the works and mess up a huge amount of planning, particularly when it comes to this time of year when we would normally be getting ready for NAMM, and there was going to be a big announcement, and so what's your opinion in terms of the negativity of leaks?
from my side, from a website maker, leaks are of course better for clicks or attention.
Yeah.
Because who want to read the press release again and again.
Yeah.
So one decision I take from my website, I stay away from press releases, mainly.
Mm-hmm.
Because why people always the same press release? Hey, we released that. This one, the price is that, and it's fine. I can find it on 50 websites.
Yeah.
It's always the same.
Yeah.
And that's why specific websites doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because they just copy paste the press release and it's it. It's not a better value for a reader.
Mm.
Why I should visit your website if you don't? So a leak is always a different thing because you have then your own opinion in it and maybe some exclusives. But the negative maybe in the leak is it right? Is it accurate? Does the price reflect? Is exactly how Mac here writes price confusion of RK Multimedia?
Yeah,
it was right. There was, I remember some other leaks I had 1 or 2 years ago. There was also wrong information that was wrong. But interesting, the leaks that Behringer said before 3 years that they are working on the ARP 2600, VCF3, MS11 and so on. They want to meet it's fake news. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is all the synthesizers are now real.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
This leak was real.
Well, I think we're wise. We're wise to what they do now is that they put this stuff out because we know they're working on it. It's just a matter of time, and they're just clearly building a buzz. Whereas as Synth Addict says here, companies spend a lot of money ahead of time for ramping up and staging products, and leaks kill that kind of effort. Yeah.
Especially for mini companies, so super small companies who don't have the marketing power. And when that's leaked, it's really shit. It's not super amazing for them.
Exactly.
They get information they get some presence on the media, but it's still not the best press.
Yeah, it's not what they have planned for a long while. And as Paul says, Paul says there's no such thing as bad press, or so they say, and that's very true. There are companies that don't mind, and clearly Behringer probably are one of those. They're like we have an airline company in Europe called Ryanair that are based out of Ireland, and they often get there's reports in the paper that they want to start charging people to use the toilets on the planes, and that was apparently an idea that somebody had, and it got out to the press, and it's never been invoked. Although I've never flown Ryanair, so I couldn't say, but the boss of Ryanair came out and said, well, what if we did? It's, he's now on the news. He's now on the 6 o'clock news, and he's now in the papers.
Look at the Behringer swing news.
Yeah.
It's bad news, but still for Behringer it's good news because they are in all media.
Yeah,
all.
Exactly. Everyone's talking about
it. And that was the mission of this campaign. Yeah. Not to get people say, oh, amazing swing. No, it was the mission to get on all the buzz on all media.
Yeah, and it worked. It
really
worked.
Maybe to take it a slightly different direction, and we had a lot of again votes for a few of the options, but there were some other options on the poll that were kind of interesting. So we've kind of considered things from a manufacturing perspective, like do they want leaks? Are they doing the leaks? But perhaps let's look at it from some of the other options that Robbie had put up there, and that's, are leaks good for us? Do we as consumers like the leaks when they happen? What do you guys think?
As consumer, yes. Always new gear, gas.
But do you like it finding out about it before you're able to buy it? Before it's released?
I don't think it makes a difference because a leak is just the same as an announcement, isn't it? And with a proper announcement, if you do get the gas, you get a bad case of gas after watching some new product reveal from I don't know.
Did you say nude product reveal?
New.
So that's marketing I'd like.
But you can go out and buy it, can't you? But if it's a leak, like you might have to wait like 2 years before there's any sign of it or something. You know, it's not usually, but
there is the argument that it allows you to plan your purchases because, you know, let's take for example, you know, there are two synthesizers that are kind of similar, but you know maybe one's got something better than the other, and one gets leaked. And you think, oh, I'm going to get that one because that's... And then the other one gets leaked and you think, oh, now I can actually make an informed decision before I kind of, you know, handed over my cash for that first one. So it does give you a bit of planning time, I guess.
I think our blood pressure is higher in leaks than in press releases.
Yes.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah, because there's that element of
because
we know something that we shouldn't.
If I saw some, I can imagine the people, if they see a leak, they will write to people, oh, you see this? You see on Facebook how people react. They're spreading the share, look what is coming. It's more than, again, as a cork release, this and this. It's less, give people less the pressure than...
it's kind of like if it's taboo, then it's more exciting, right? It's like we weren't supposed to know this, but now we do. So this is exciting, rather than you know, as Thomas said, like those you know kind of lame press releases. I think I feel the same way. I think Robbie, you summed it up well. Like it's nice to be able to plan and to figure things out and kind of work on those. And as I thought about it this week, I think the thing that I probably would like companies to be more ready for is not, you know, like, you know, let us know what's coming, and I'm okay with that. But when you release it, have enough units that people can get a hold of them, or have your distribution network set up that people can get them. I mean, I had the Moog 1 within hours of the release, you know, shipped to me, and I got it within it was less than 2 days. Maybe it was like 36 hours or something, and I had it sitting here and I was starting to play it. There were people in Europe that waited over 6 months, a year, to be able to get a hold of one.
And you're still waiting for your Cobalt, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm still waiting for a Cobalt that I ordered well over a month ago, 6 weeks ago or so, 5-6 weeks ago.
Yeah. We're not teasing
you. Like, where is it? So
absolutely.
You know, with the leaks, like you said, it can be nice to be able to plan and strategize. Like, oh, maybe I need to move some other gear to make room for this, or to free up some money. But when it goes for sale, let's at least be able to buy it.
Yeah, this is true. It's like, you know, this time last year, Korg at their stand at NAMM had an Op6 on the wall, and it was a 61 note. But if you actually, I've been looking back at the pictures, the control surface is the same.
But it was planned to be fake.
Yes, exactly. It was a proof of concept, and everyone had been briefed to say, "Oh, we don't really know what this is." They just kind of sent it to us to put up on the wall, but they knew what was going on. So we knew Op6 was coming. We didn't know when it was coming. We didn't know whether it would look like that. We didn't know the specifications, but we knew it was there, and it was a deliberate. And it wasn't a leak so much, you know, it was a deliberate thing. But the photos that came out were of the stand being assembled, and this synthesizer, fake synthesizer, was just kind of lying around. So you have to wonder, you know, was that just an opportune passerby that took the snap, or was it Korg deliberately doing something? However, we knew about it, and we had time to think, oh, well, you know, do we want the Op6? Maybe we'd like the Mega FM from Twisted Electrons instead. So it allowed people to make a choice. And then, of course, when it does come out towards the end of last year, you know, we were probably in a better informed position.
And
even go ahead.
No, I only say there was also the Nautilus under the Op6 at the NAMM show.
Yes. Was it silver, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, good points. Yeah. Well, there you go.
I mean, sometimes it can be a good way for a company to find information, and it's where we see Behringer doing quite a bit, is like, which I think is a good thing and a smart thing to do, like find out what people really want rather than what you think they want, by putting out like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. I do think that's a good strategy.
Yeah.
It can kind of like if you have like the Op 6 or whatever it was called when they did the 61 key at the at the NAMM show. Yeah. There can be a little bit of disappointment too, because when the actual Op 6 came out, I mean, they should do that size. They should have done what they had done, although they should have added aftertouch to it. But for the people that are waiting for like a 61 key with aftertouch, it's a little disappointing. Also, like, we know you were at least thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now maybe if they come out with this NAMM show, a 61 key version of it, maybe we'll be happy again.
And I think they know it, because it's why putting on an 800 euro here in Europe, it's 800 euro on a fucking Op 6 no aftertouch and a plastic bomb, because inside Op 6 it's a Raspberry.
Yeah.
It's too expensive, 800 euro for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So that kind of, let's see, talking of Behringer and talking of leaks, I'm hoping that I'm going to share the right page here. So this was put out about, this was on the 14th of January. They teased us with this VCS3, the casing, the panel, and one of the PCBs. And then shortly after that, we got the following. Now, I'm hoping this is going to be the right link, and embarrassingly, it probably won't be. Oh, no, it is. Look at that. Got it right first time. It's assembled. And now it has the knobs, and it has the joystick, and it has the pin matrix, and this is clearly a thing. And it wasn't just the front view, but we also got the rear view with the connectivity. And what's everyone's thoughts on a VCS3? Because we knew this was coming. This was mentioned a while ago, but now we see it. It's are we excited about this?
Yeah, I think it's.
Is this your thing? Is this your kind of thing, Ben? I wouldn't have you down as a VCS3 person.
I like it. I know the sound anyway, but I like it just for the pure retro look of it.
Yeah,
I'd like to have a bank of them in a row. Yeah, that'd be quite cool. Just stand there messing with them all. Yeah. I don't know how much they're going to be. Has anybody any idea? It'd probably be about
Tom?
About the gram mark, maybe.
We do a similar thing in Germany. The sequencer talk, and we have always after it's a talk like the Pro Synth Network talk, and after this talk we have always a community talk on Midsi, this community platform. We discussed already the price there a bit, and most of them think the price could be around 699 or 700, like the Poly D and so.
Yeah. I'm wondering how much extra that wood will put onto the price, because
Chinese wood is not so expensive.
Yeah. Plus, it doesn't have a key bed, so that's going to cut costs. I wouldn't be surprised if it were
the most expensive thing on this entire is the pin matrix.
Yeah.
Because alone the pin matrix cost several hundred euro if you buy one single pin matrix.
But then they're going to be making these themselves, you would have thought, because that's kind of the Behringer way, isn't it? So that's going to bring the cost down. It's interesting. I've seen VCS3 0001. I've touched that, the very first one, which is in David Vorhaus's studio, which he originally used, his... I'm doing this.
Yes, doesn't look right.
The Kaleidophon.
Right.
It was originally back to that. And it's when you see one in the flesh, it's like, wow, that's because it's so unique. And I think again because it's British originally, there is a kind of sense of wow, we were good at some of these things back then. Cryss.
I was back in the only guitar days.
BG BS, sorry, before synth.
Before synth. So some of those tones that I really enjoyed were from Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and bands like that were featuring synthesizers and rock music, and so and before the internet as well, trying to find information on what synthesizers were used. The VCS3 was one of the first ones I learned about, along with like the Mini Moog and the Moog Modular. So way people talk about it, and I've since read interviews. And so one of my favorite tracks, of course, I've mentioned before, is Welcome to the Machine. And so Roger Waters has talked about how he built that track out from a VCS3. So the parts that I was keen in on was the solo at the end of it, like in the middle and the end, which is actually a Mini Moog. But in the interviews, he talked about the VCS3, so I was like trying to find out as much. I didn't know how they sounded, and so I was so really into the VCS3 for a long time. But finding out a little bit later, like, oh, there's quite a few different things happening on that track, but also John Paul Jones using them, and a lot of other guitarists and bassists using these synthesizers. It's been one of the ones that have been a little more shrouded in mystery because they're so unobtainium that you can't sit and play one. So this is going to be a really great thing. The styling on it, actually, to me, in my opinion, looks better than the original. I love the colored knobs and get me the Cold War launch codes for it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's as Max says, it has a battleship kind of look to it. I think I like that. We can see four nerds sat around a table, each with a VCS3, playing something or other.
I have to fear that Behringer doesn't calibrate it. Because the 112 VCO from Roland, this clone was not calibrated. I had the 2600 here because I bought it and made the video and I sold it, and the filter was not calibrated according to a guy calibrated the filter because it doesn't produce this the waveforms as it should. And so I have also the Monopoly is not perfect. Also according to some guys who has the original is not calibrated. So I have always a bit fear that the VCS3 is also not so perfectly tuned, calibrated. Yeah. And it's important if you calibrate not the synth perfectly, it doesn't sound it's great. It's an important factor, and calibration is expensive.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons I would think about getting it, because of the connection with Brian Eno. I'm big Pink Floyd fan, don't get me wrong, but massive Brian Eno fan, and to be able to kind of dig into that, those kind of tools is interesting. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. We're expecting more from them this year. So.
When?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, you better than any of us, Tom.
Well, yes, quite.
I say end of 2021 or even 2022.
Yeah, this is way off, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Also, wasn't the VCS also used by the BBC with like Doctor Who productions?
Yeah, yeah.
Or Jean-Michel Jarre in the Oxygen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's had a lot of use. I mean, it's certainly one of the more widely used rare synths. It's certainly had a wide range of users. Talking of old synths, there's old synths that have become new synths because Sequential have announced desktop versions of the Prophet 5 and the Prophet 10, which we kind of knew were coming. And so, we can now have all of the fun of the Prophet 5 and the Prophet 10 without the keyboard in a smaller box for not huge amounts less than the keyboard versions. Let's be honest, they're still quite expensive. The US price for the 5 is 2.5, and for the 10 is 3.2, which I think compares to. I know the 10 was 4.4 with the keys. Was it 3? I can't remember, 3 something for the 5. So I mean it's a fairly big price drop, but you're still just getting a box without a keyboard. Thoughts on this, guys? Cryss, does this tempt you more than the keyboard version?
As I put on our group earlier this week, it still seems like a very high price point for what you get. And that's not saying anything about the sound. I mean, the sound is absolutely phenomenal. And I think these Rev 4s sound better than... me personally, I like the Rev 4 sounds better than even any of the previous versions. So I want to say I have a very high opinion of the sound. The price for what you get is not a very good value for it. But at least having the desktop... I wouldn't need the keyboard version. I would prefer keyboard versions over desktops every time. However, I have a really nice keyboard here, so if I could have it sitting on a rack right behind it, that would be my preference. But of course, as we've also been talking about the OBX, which probably the profit should really be more. If I were to purchase one, should be the one I purchased since I have an OB6. But it's good. The only thing, the one criticism I have about the desktop, though, is that with the OB6 and the Prophet 6 and the Prophet 5, of course, from which it originates, those certain type of buttons that they use have not... I think they have been used on the Prophet 6 and OB6 modules, but they didn't get used on this one. And I'm not sure why, because... that's part of the classic look, and you don't expect the desktop to look exactly like the full synth with all the beautiful wood and everything. But those gray buttons are kind of part of the signature look of the Prophet. I'm really surprised, and I don't know why they didn't put them on there.
That's very true. I hadn't noticed that until you pointed it out to me. Yeah, it does. It makes a difference, I think. But I'm sure there's a reason.
I personally prefer desktops. But there's one thing I still not understand. Developers are not doing this is on desktops is the USB host functionality. Because it simplifies everything.
Yeah.
Because you take only a USB cable, put it in, and it works.
Yeah.
We need, especially on that's one big reason I said also to the model guys. Please put a USB host on the Argon or the Cobalt, because this would simplify everything. And I'm a big fan of these desktop synths. But when they have, if they have these connections, I would be so happy. Yeah. Because I hate to work with MIDI with old MIDI fashion cables.
Ben,
so Tom, you're just asking for like a MIDI connector.
A MIDI host, USB host
in a USB format, that would be good.
Yeah. What do you think, Ben, to the desktops? Because you're a P6 owner, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So would you get this now and then have you cake and eat it? I guess.
Well, I think I'm coming at it from slightly a different angle, just the nostalgia value. I think a lot of people want the P6, obviously for the sound, the P5. Sorry, obviously for the sound, but you can get that sound in a P6, nearly. You can get it close. So, a big appeal of this has got to be to achieve that Wayne's World moment. It will be mine. And it's like. I grew up watching Japan and OMD.
You grew up.
Yeah, I was.
Oh, right, okay.
I grew up a little bit watching those, and always like aspiring to own those synthesizers. So now that it's been re-released, I think a lot of people's excitement was, now I can finally own that. Now I think the sales might disappoint a little bit on the desktop because it isn't that. It sounds like it, but so does a P6. Is it just, I don't know. I think a part of the appeal is owning the actual thing, as goes for so many other things.
Maybe it's different questions, but what is your opinion about this OBX entry or this trademark entry? Do you think it comes, or
wasn't that? Because I was aware of it, I saw it on your site, but also I think when I was watching Sonic State this week, that they said it's nothing. It's I'm just saying what I've heard. I don't know.
Or they just protecting their name.
Could be. Do you think he's doing Tom a favour just by protecting the name? Yeah, that's a really good point.
Because Behringer brings the UBX or he always purchased the Oberheim brand.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So maybe from the other direction, one, Tom says he's working on something, way back in whenever, was it December 2019? The pattern of history before Prophet 6 is released, and then after that, the OB6 is released, so the similar pattern. Maybe the OBX gets pushed back because Dave is going to do the same thing again. He releases the Prophet 6 first and then the OBX that they're working on. I don't know. It could go either way on this.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool if you did.
I think the Prophet
exactly
6.
The same.
I think the Prophet 6 is still okay for the market. They don't need to update it or so.
Yeah. I get the feeling, having watched that interview with Dave and hearing his story about the motivation to or part of the motivation to do the Rev 4 being, if you don't do it, somebody else is going to, and we all know who that somebody else is. So it just makes you wonder whether that is. I think that's a very good point, Tom. I hadn't really thought of that, but protecting.
I asked last year in my video, Dave Smith, what do you think about Pro 1 from Behringer? And he say he should. he has no problem with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it would be interesting also because they're making the OBXA clone, and if Sequential ends up doing it in collaboration with Tom, doing the OBX would be quite an interesting move by them, because they're going to be able to charge 3-4 times the price of what Behringer does, and there is a sense of that the OBX has a certain history. They're both great, fantastic synthesizers, those classic Oberheims, but there's a little bit to the mystique of the OB6 and its circuitry and having the SEM type filters and everything that the OBXA doesn't have.
I would be happy if they bring this OBX, because the OB6 sounds absolutely stunning. It's for me one of the best analog synths out there.
And how many of us wouldn't just hit play the intro to Tom Sawyer the first time you turn it on?
Yeah, but this thing about having maybe a Dave Smith, a Sequential OBX, and this Behringer version, they can both exist in the same space because there are people. I'm not going to name names, but there are people who will be able to say, okay, well, I want an OBX or an OBXA. What are my choices? And I can afford the Sequential one. I'm going to go for the Sequential one. Whereas there's a huge amount of people that will never be able to afford that, or would struggle to afford that over a number of years, and so they're going to go for the budget version. And I don't think anybody that would buy the Behringer version of that over a Sequential version of that, if they can afford the Sequential version, because they know what they're getting.
I think many people make their big problem, because for me a Sequential customer is a different customer than the Behringer.
Exactly.
It's if the guy was it's the same thing people asked if when Behringer released the Model D, they said they take away the sales from Moog. No, because what I heard is they sold in 2018 like over 15,000 Model Ds or more, even more. You think 50,000 people bought a Moog Model D? No. It's different. It's a different price category. It's different customers. So even even OBX is there and OBX XA. Yeah. Both will be sold, but it will be different priced, different customers.
Yeah, it is. It's a different marketplace. I don't think anybody would be stealing anyone.
I don't know. I mean, even for the people that would probably choose from either of them, it gives you some, as a consumer, it gives you choices, because maybe, for me, I would be all in for Moog and a really nice, Roland type synth or Oberheim. but not so much for Sequential. But that's because of my taste in it. So, maybe somebody who's like, I like the Oberheim sound. I really like the whatever Prince or Van Halen or whatever. The OBX would be a great. The Behringer version would be a great choice, better than spending 3 or 4 times the money for the OBX that Sequential would put out. But a lot of people, again, okay, well, this is in collaboration with Tom, we'll go for that one, or we like those SEM filters better, the discrete circuitry, whatever it is, and go for another option.
Yeah. But are we not when we talk about these things now? For me, it's always repeating us. It's always the same thing. We bring back the Prophet, the OBXA, and so on. Why not something new?
Yeah.
Or something. I really want that Dave brings back his digital beast, the Polyevolver.
Yeah.
That was a totally unique synth, not a reissue and so on. It was totally unique, something in this direction, because now we are doing the circle over and over.
Yeah.
Again,
but I think there's
again the Roland, again the Jupiter, again the Oberheim, again.
Well, I think the thing is that like the companies still have to make money to be able to do some of those more adventurous products, and so you're going to have to put out. I mean, again, Dave Smith hasn't been in interviews, not been super excited about revisiting the Prophet 5. But as a business decision, it makes perfect sense because they can sell them for a ton of money and sell a whole bunch of them. And my hope is not really for the Prophet 5 or 10, the Rev 4, but like maybe, the Nick synthesizer that is they're going to be able to invest in spending a longer time to create. I mean, Moog talked that they had spent 5 years on the Moog 1 before it was even released. But you got to have something to fund that. In fact, I think it was released early because they just needed capital to come into it. So, mini Moogs are being sold during that time, are probably paying for a lot of the R&D that's going into the Moog 1. Again, with these other synthesizers, the Prophet 5, it satisfies a lot of people has been their dream to own it but never been able to own it. Or maybe now they are, but they don't want to deal with a breaking down vintage one. And so it serves its purpose, but I hope, and I agree with you, Tom. I hope that it's part of the process that will allow a company to go more into exploration, because they'll be bringing the money in from these reissues.
Indeed. Well, let's draw a line under that one there. Sequential, Prophet 5, Prophet 10, desktop versions available soon at a dealer near you. We've got this. I'm going to squeeze this one in because we'll forget about it. We are over time, but it's not a bad thing. He says when his wife is probably downstairs dropping firewood. Arturia. Let's give them a mention because they have partnered up with Noise Engineering and have released. Is it 3.0? I think this update. Yeah. So version 3 to the Microfreak, which adds new oscillator modes, fresh presets, firmware updates, and a limited edition skin with 2020's vocoder edition. So I'm not familiar with the Microfreak at all. I hear lots of good things about it, but who's got an opinion on this one?
I think Cryss has got one, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Come on then.
it.
Oh, you have? Yes, of course.
It's a fantastic little synth. I bought mine used, and at used price, it's even more fantastic. It's really shocking how good this thing sounds and what you can do with it. So these last 2 weeks have been a little bit difficult with updates and companies. I've been having some issues. So first one was like I wasted 6 hours on trying to update my OB6. And with their new beta that adds the vintage knob, and since stuff to Sequential, nothing that they're not even addressing it. but a lot of users are having problems getting that software loaded onto their OB6 keyboard version. And so, of course, you might think, well, you just haven't got it right. But I'm using the same system I've updated my OB6 with before. And I also updated my buddy's Prophet 6 right afterwards, and it updated fine. So there's something wrong with the firmware if that's happening, but no word on that. So I'm a little upset about that. My Uno drum won't take the new update. And then I actually, I'm thankful that companies like, IK Multimedia or Arturia have software that you just plug a USB cable into your computer and it updates. I'm very good with that. Sorry, Sequential, that sucks to use a MIDI interface and to pipe the SysX and set all that crap up. It's ridiculous in 2021. Give us something better. Okay, rant over.
Good.
I did update this. No, rant not over. I updated the software. I get the SAW-X oscillator. I get the Harm oscillator with it or whatever.
And the bass.
But the bass oscillator is not on there, and I got this problem that if I scroll past SAW-X, I have to change presets. I can't go back to the earlier oscillator. So this SAW-X oscillator sounds really cool, but I'm still waiting. I sent them a message too. So, what the hell? What the hell? Can we get this right? Okay, rant done.
There is a common denominator with all these upgrade things. It pains me to say it, Cryss, but no, I'm sure it's just a very bad luck. I'm sure it's very, or as we say, picnic, problem in chair, not in computer. I'm just joking. Let's have a listen, shall we? Let's have a listen to what the Microfreak actually kind of sounds like. I'm not entirely sure how much of this we can go through. This is Tom's video from Synth Anatomy, so we're going to use
my
this.
Experimental sounds.
Tom proving there that literally effects make synthesizers sound amazing. From something that sounded very simple, it just sounded great after that. Come on then, Tom. You've clearly had this in your hands for a little while now. What are your thoughts on this new update? There you go.
It's pretty amazing. I really love if they put effort to collaborate with companies, with other companies, not only doing its own style, but also bring some new, fresh ideas from other companies, or maybe more experimental, because noise engineering is known for very dirty, harsh sounds, well, not really the field of Arturia, for example. And I find it very nice that they put in these timbres now in the Microfreak. So it's like let's say Sequential would teamed up with another company, and they bring also these strange sounds in it because it's something very unusual.
Yeah,
because they sound very. The Microfreak is really for the money an excellent synth. It gives you a lot of features for this $250 or $260 already. It's a fantastic value what you get here.
And you're right in what you say that teaming up with a company like Noise Engineering is, if you are using Eurorack and you haven't got any of their Eurorack stuff, modular stuff, you're now going to start thinking about buying this. So it makes sense, for these kind of cross collaborations to work, and it's nice to see. And
even smarter is this new algorithms inside the Microfreak are coming not from an existing module. They announced last NAMP show the Irtes Virta, or so. It's a new oscillator based on this platform, on this what is it called, this special open source platform, the Daisy chain or the Daisy.
Yeah.
And this oscillator should be out already, but COVID retarded or delayed it. And now they put this oscillator from this new module already in the Microfreak, what is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So it's like a preview how this module will sound.
It's good. Yeah, and it's good marketing. Ben.
Yeah, I don't have one, but I have been impressed with what I've heard in the past, and this update just, I don't know, it's 3 new sub oscillators, isn't it, that's been added, and they're really like kind of gritty and hard edge sounding things. Yeah. I think I would be interested in it now, especially with this edition. Yeah, but apparently they asked them to design 3 oscillators, but the intention was only to pick 2. I don't know if you spoke about this already, Roland.
No.
They were so happy with all 3 of them that they kept all 3 and accommodated that in the update. Like, so
that's good.
Yeah. One more feature is that they expanded the amount of presets that can go on there.
Yeah, so 96 or something.
Yeah, 3 something, 380 something, 384. I don't know.
That's good.
But again, another mini rant for the IK Multimedia synth, and most of these modern synths that are coming out, like in 2021. Let's bump those amount of presets up, and argument against them, like, well, how many presets are you going to use? Like, yeah, I don't use more than a few hundred presets.
That's not your business.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I think, at least with, say, something like an OB6 or Prophet 6, for instance, you've got 1,000. If you get software, you can overwrite all 1,000 presets slots. If you don't, you can overwrite 500. But when you start thinking that sound designers like Jamie and Mark Barnes and myself are making presets, if you've got 300 presets on your synth and you buy a sound set from each of us, you've already filled it all.
Yeah.
And so if you've got 1,000 presets, then you can buy, if you enjoy tasting and trying presets and you want to leave them all on there, well, then you have more room to put presets on, and for the amount of memory it takes, it's so small and it's so inexpensive that it really should be like, this is up there on my, even higher on my list of rants than Poly Aftertouch.
It's a thing about memory. Memory is expensive.
But it's not that expensive anymore.
It's not the memory you think you in the computer. So it's special memory. It's other memory, and this memory is still expensive. The memory on the chip is still expensive.
Yeah.
It's not the memory you get from SD cards or so.
Well, they should make it so it is.
Yeah.
Just put a slot in. Just put a slot in it.
Or 1 MB more, or 2 MB more.
Yeah. I mean, I've just bought a TX802, and I have one of these old Yamaha Ram 4 cartridges where I can store 64 performances and 128 voices, and that's it. And I've got banks of stuff, and I'm just I'm going to have to spend a lot of money to buy one of those capacity cards to hold all of these, because I want all of that stuff. I might not like all of it, but I want it there, and I want it easily accessible.
Yeah.
It's the perennial pain in the arse.
But there are some cool stuff coming out, because there's one guy from Germany who created a card, like you showed now, a card, but one which you can store your own sounds on it, but one which has far more memory, and which is connectable via USB.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was for Roland synth or for Quark synth, but maybe he will expand his range of his synths. But the idea was cool.
Is that the WaveRex card?
Yeah,
I think.
exactly.
Yeah. And there are similar things for other things. There's a guy in Japan that makes cards, wave ROM cards for the RX5 Yamaha drum machine. So now you can upload onto this card any set of waveforms, and so you've got 808s and 909s, and you can upload it all onto there and then plug it in, and you've got access to all of these sounds on there. But I think it's about £65 just for the card, but it's a raw card, as in it hasn't got a case on it, so it's a little bit.
Yeah. If you've got nasty, these increased capacity cartridges, the USB connector makes a great deal of sense. Because otherwise it's going to be sysx and then saving it to the card.
Well, this is what I find with all of these multi bank cards I have on a lot of this stuff here is that you've got to just zip the SysX over to the synth and then go from the internal memory to the cart memory, then go back and do it all again. Blah, blah, blah. Whereas, as you say, Hypersynth, who make the they do Roland D50, DX7, DX7 II 1s and 5 carts with huge capacities on them. They've been promising a little module that you can plug the cartridge in, and it's got a little screen on. You can see exactly what's on the cartridge without the synth there. And then I might be wrong, I think there is a USB connection, so you can then send sounds to the cart and then put it into the synth. So, but they're not cheap. They're really not cheap. So it's one of those things. Listen, guys, we're cracking. We've really overrun today, and it's not a bad thing. But I need the toilet. So I'm going to wrap things up unless anybody else has got any pressing issues. Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I don't think I've seen you on any other show. Maybe that's because I don't watch many other shows, but it's great to have you on. We hope
they forgot me, maybe.
No, how could they do that? We won't forget you. We will definitely have you back. And congratulations on the website. May it have continued success. And we often quote it on here. As Cryss said, it's one of his go-to sites, and it's definitely in my list of places to find stuff. So keep up the good work. And it's definitely appreciated.
And also his YouTube channel as well.
Yes, of course. Yep. So one and the same. So well done. Thank you for joining us today, Ben, Cryss. Any plans for the week that you have?
Just more of the same for me. I'm still in the middle of all these tracks. That was one point I was going to mention about presets, is you might not even like the sounds that you've got in a preset, but if you do what I'm doing,
you need it.
You need to keep everything there whether you like it or not, because you might need to pull in like the sound of somebody scraping a chalk down a blackboard for something,
Yeah, no.
Because somebody else did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything exciting for you, Cryss, coming up?
Yeah, nothing much this week. Just keep working, plugging away.
And Tom, I guess NAMM is this week. It's obviously a different NAMM, but I guess that's going to be kind of on your radar, attending all those events.
There will be something today.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes at 6 a.m. Central Europe time.
Oh, I should get up early. We were talking about this pre-show, so. For those, I'm sure lots of people are aware that NAMM obviously is not taking place physically this year. It's all online, and if you register, then you get to go through all of the events that are on there, and you can bookmark them and go and watch their live video events. And I've been going through and picking out manufacturers that I would like to see what they're doing, what they're up to. There are some noticeable absentees. I won't name names, but there are companies there I couldn't find. But obviously, with my my fetish for all things Yamaha, I went to the Yamaha website, and apparently on Wednesday there is a new synth announcement, and it's going to be. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to tell you when it's going to happen. So, according to their information on here, 6 p.m. UK, so that's GMT, on Wednesday, January the 20th, there is a new Yamaha synth product first look, followed by a product integration demonstration, a product playthrough at 10 p.m, and then a reintroduction of the product at 11 p.m. UK time. So I don't know what that is, but it's interesting. A new Yamaha synth, and it is because Yamaha have gone on to NAMM, and they've broken their business down by division. So it's nothing to do with the YCs. This is completely different. So might be something, might be nothing, but keep your peepers peeled, and I'm sure Tom will have it on his website ASAP. Gentlemen, thank you very much to everyone that's in the chat room. And I know I didn't name check any of you this week because we have had a bumper chat room with loads of activity. Thank you ever so much to every single one of you. I'm not going to name names, but literally every single one of you. Thank you for joining us as you always do. Please spread the word. Do hit the like button, do hit the subscribe button, and also ring that bell to make sure you get notified of every episode as and when it goes out. We will see you the same time, same place next week. So that's 8 p.m. UK time. I'm not sure if we have a guest lined up for next week, but we will let you know as soon as we know. But in the meantime, go to the Facebook page and keep up to date with all the information, and the weekly poll discussions and all of that will happen there. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure tonight. Thank you ever so much for your participation. See you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.